York's classic rock, Q1043.
Good morning. Yesterday was such a tragic anniversary for the FDNY, and most people are no longer aware of this. They do not remember Black Sunday in 2005 when 3 firefighters with the FDNY were killed in 2 fires. One was a tenement in the Mars Heights section of the Bronx, and then the other fire where we lost another firefighter was in the East New York section of Brooklyn. It was the darkest day for the FDNY since 9/11. So that was 16 years ago yesterday. And I'm speaking this morning with Jeff Cool, retired FDNYer, who is a 9/11 first responding FDNYer who almost got killed 16 years ago yesterday in the Bronx. And I wanted you to tell the story from your vantage point, Jeff.
So, January 22nd, 2005, the tri-state area was being hit by a nor'easter. We had about a foot of snow that came down, and temperatures were in the teens. We were in a state of emergency here in the tri-state area and in New York. I actually went in night of the 22nd and started my 24-hour tour with Rescue 3 in the Bronx. And it was a fairly uneventful night. You know, we had a few runs, a lot of snow coming down. We had a good meal, some joking around the kitchen table, solving the world's problems as we sat there. And that's what we do in a firehouse. It's the round table. We solve the world's problems. We have a lot of experts there. And again, an uneventful night. We had to run a little earlier in the morning, maybe I don't know, just before 7 o'clock. So we're sitting around the kitchen table, drinking coffee. And just before the 8 o'clock hour, a run came in for a fire in the Bronx on 178th Street. It sounded like it was a job. And when I say a job, it sounded like it was a working fire. They started us out on the box. The rescue companies, there's 5 rescues for the city of New York, and we respond on every 1075. A 1075 is a working fire. We do all the high angle confined space, scuba, water, hazmat, building collapse. We do a little bit of everything, And anyway, they started us out on a box for this fire. They give it 1075 while we're en route. We know there's a fire, and we report in, and it's a 4-story tenement. And if there's a normal fire, this looked like a normal fire. There is no normal fire, but this looked like probably 45 minutes to an hour. We'll be back in the firehouse, ready to respond to our next call. Unfortunately, that morning, there was a lot of cards stacked against us. First and foremost, we didn't know this initially. This building was illegally subdivided. It had SRO conditions, which was single room occupancy. So basically, if there was 3 apartments per floor, they took each apartment and divided it up into multiple apartments. And these, I can't even call them landlords, because they're slumlords. They not only put the firefighters at risk, they put the tenants at risk. They legally divide these rooms up, and they make rooms inside of rooms, and they put padlocks, and it becomes a maze. Then we had the nor'easter, foot of snow on the ground, winds blowing in excess of 45 miles an hour, temperatures in the teens. So we had a wind-driven fire. We had frozen hydrants. We had problem getting, I believe ice came from the hydrant into the engine when they were pumping water and clogged the impeller. So we had the engine that pumps water to us wasn't able to get water to us. Now I work in a rescue company, and we are, we do the search and rescue along with the truck companies. And anyway, all those were stacked against us that day. Um, so the first and second two companies are on the scene, and they are in the process of doing putting water on a fire and searching. And they, I'm sorry, my
I
dog's right here.
see. I see. We're doing this on Zoom.
Yeah, yeah.
Wants some love. He wants some
Yeah,
love.
yeah. This is my rescue, Toby. We've had him 6 months now. Um, so anyway, we get up there to assist a 27 truck on the top floor to help them search for life and property. The engine on the fire floor, which is the third floor, they're in the process trying to put water on the fire. They lose water. We have a secondary line that's on the top floor with us that is back down off the top floor to try to go move in and extinguish the fire. So we're operating without the protection of a hand line on the top floor. And we're searching around. It's a moderate smoke condition with no visible fire. We're searching around, and from a matter of minutes, it goes from a tenable position to an unattainable position. If you listen to the audio tapes, they're out there. Pull them up on YouTube or wherever. You hear Lieutenant Myron reporting that it's a moderate. We have a moderate extent or a mild. I forget his exact words. I'm lost for words. Minimal extension here on the top floor. And seconds later, my captain, Chris King, is radioing urgent. We have fire out into the hallway. And the next thing you know, firefighters are pushed to the window. 6 firefighters are pushed to the window, and they're in an unattainable situation that they either have to jump and hope for the best or stay there and burn to death. So I was in the kitchen, when the fire was discovered, and my captain, Chris King, is radioing, and I have a thermal imaging camera, and it goes lights out. Basically, we went from a moderate smoke condition to a lights out condition, and I have my thermal imaging camera. I could pick up heat signatures with this camera, both of fire and of victims. And I pick up a silhouette of a firefighter down the hallway. The exit to the apartment is behind me, so I advance towards this firefighter, and I have a quick conversation with this firefighter, and I say, "Hey, we got fire behind us. We need to get out of here." And he goes, "We're trapped." And I turn around, and from floor to ceiling, there's fire, and we are trapped. And 6 firefighters are pushed to the window, and there's nowhere to go. We're like rats in a cage. I am in an apartment 4L, and I am in bedroom number 2. That's what it was labeled. And we're like rats in a cage running around this room, and I get pushed to one window by the fire and the heat, and Lieutenant Myron of 27 truck, along with Brendan Cawley and Eugene Stolowski of 27 truck, are pushed to the adjacent window. To the left in bedroom number 1 is my partner, Joey DiBernardo, and he's trapped there. There's also another firefighter trapped up there. It was firefighter John Ballou. He was the chauffeur at 27 truck. We're not too sure which window he was at. But unfortunately, when we were pushed to these windows, normally there's, in the city of New York, we know there's fire escapes. Unfortunately, with these illegal subdivisions, we weren't afforded the opportunity to walk right to the fire escape, because this wall was put up in this maze that it didn't allow us to do so. So here we were trapped, and there was nowhere to go.
So what are you thinking? What's going through your mind there?
Well, there's a lot of things going through my mind. I just turned. Um, the boys are going out now. My dogs are going out. My wife's taking them out. There is. Um, I just turned 38 a couple days prior to this fire. On January 18th, I turned 38, and you know, 38's young, right? I'm like, who thinks at 38? This is it. This is it. And I said, I'm not going to die here, and I was thinking every which way. How I'm going to get out of here. I know the brothers are making a diligent push to come and get us. Mayday after Mayday messages being transmitted over the radio. Um, but I just want to back up for a second because it's important to tell this part of the story. There was an illegal subdivision, there was the nor'easter, but also the firefighters up until December 1999. We all had ropes. We all had our fail safe. We all had ropes that we carried, 40 feet of life that a firefighter carried in his pocket, along with a harness that if a firefighter got trapped, he could bail out quickly and efficiently. Unfortunately, the fire commissioner back then, Tommy Von Essen, that a lot of people think is still today, the media thinks he's an expert, right? And so many things, and the guy actually, I hold him personally responsible for killing my brothers, because he took that lifeline away from us. That is a bulletproof vest to a firefighter, that rope. It's our fail safe. It's like a fighter
But
pilot. He
why?
said,
Why did he take it away? Why was that taken
well,
away?
he took it away. He said that firefighters weren't carrying it. They weren't needed. They were too heavy. We went from wearing, we wore just fire coats at one time and rubber boots. And then, unfortunately, there was a fatal fire back in the 90s. It was the Watt Street fire where firefighter Drennan, or Captain Drennan, firefighter Siedenberg, and firefighter Young were roasted in a fire. And we got bunker gear, to fully encapsulate us and allow us to go deeper into a fire, while it afforded us the opportunity not to be burned. Gave us more protection. It added more weight. Commissioner Von Essen, he decided, well, this is too much weight to be carrying around. The guys weren't carrying them. They weren't needed. And it was all false. There was like 33 documented cases of ropes being used prior to Black Sunday. But he took them away from us, and he said they were causing heart attacks. When we went through the whole trial part of it, there was no proof there. There was nothing from safety. There was nothing from FDNY. So let's go back to the window. I want to stay on this, but
That was very important because that was
it
the
was,
lifesaver. That was the lifesaver right there.
yeah, yes, ma'am. And I'm an advocate for that still today, with that rope, because out of the 6 firefighters that were trapped at the window, I was the only firefighter that had a rope in my pocket. I bought a rope at a firefighter trade show 6 months to the day, in Baltimore, Maryland. And I came home from this trade show, and I think it was approximately $375 I paid for this rope. And this rope caused a little controversy in my home because, firefighters, we don't make a ton of money. And my wife looked at it and she's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "That's a rope that I bought." I go, it's an escape rope, that I might need one day. We once had these and they took them away from us. And I said, one day it may save my life. And 6 months to the day, as 6 firefighters are, pushed to the window, it did save my life, because to the right of me, firefighter Stolowski, firefighter Cawley, and Lieutenant Myron, they had to jump. Lieutenant Myron went first. Firefighter Cawley went second. He was a Pro B firefighter that day. They fell when it was a 4-story building. When they fell to the ground, they actually fell 5 stories. There was a below grade entrance. And in that below grade entrance, there was an alleyway. There was no way to get an aerial or our portable ladders. The longest portable ladder we have is 35 feet. So it wasn't going to reach. You're looking at about 10 feet per floor, on the average. And we couldn't get there. Firefighters were diligently working on the roof, setting up a life-saving rope operation, which is a little different than the personal safety ropes that we once had. They're to rescue civilians and firefighters, but it takes time to set it up. And time was in the essence, and this room was filling up with fire. And so these and then firefighter Stolowski went out and they jumped. So 3 firefighters jumped. The firefighter below of 27 truck jumped from another window, and we're not sure which one. And I was still trapped at the window. I was on a portable air conditioning unit with fire blowing out over my head. I was being burned. Joey DiBernardo, my partner, said that it was like a jet engine blowing out over me. That's how much fire I had coming out over my head. And Joey's trapped to my left, and I couldn't get back in to tie my rope off because I was pushed out the window. And I said, Joey, I have a rope, but I have nowhere to tie it off to. And we have a quick conversation, and I said, basically, I'm going to lower Joey. I don't know how I'm going to do this on a window air conditioner, 5 stories above the ground. And how am I going to lower him? But I said, I'm going to lower you. He goes, Jeff, you got a wife and kids. You go first. And quick argument. And seconds later, I throw him one end of the rope. He wraps it around his arm, stands on the rope. I wrap the rope around in a boy fashion, roll off the air conditioning unit, say a quick prayer, saying I'm not going to die here today. And speculation as to what happened next. I probably pendulum out the backside of the building, pendulum out to the corner, came back in, hit the wall. My hands opened up, and down to the ground I went. I got down, I would say between 12 and 15 feet. It cut off my fall. I didn't fall to the below grade entrance. I fell at the top landing. I was about an inch from falling another 10 feet. Firefighter DiBernardo took the same rope, clipped it on a child guard gate, not a substantial object that we want to tie off to, but it was in a life or death situation. Clips off to it, belays himself, rolls out the window, gets down about 12 to 15 feet. He falls all the way to the below grade entrance. Catastrophic injuries with everything going on here. The 6 firefighters that went out the window. Lieutenant Myron and firefighter Ballou were killed that day from their injuries. I would not downplay my injuries or Joey's injuries or Brendan's at all, but Gene Stolowski, he had an internal decapitation. So basically his knee came up and drove into his chin, and his head came back. And I think the only thing that kept his head from coming off his body was his air bottle. He's still alive today. It's an absolute miracle. But in the meantime, all of us had catastrophic injuries. The firefighters that were back there that day, along with EMS, the paramedics and the EMTs, they started the triage right away.
Hold on, let me just interrupt here. So if people are just joining us, I'm speaking with retired FDNY Jeff Kuhl, who was one of the survivors, not only of 9/11, but in 2005, he survived Black Sunday when 3 firefighters were killed in 2 separate fires on the same day. It was the darkest day for the FDNY since September 11th. This happened 16 years ago yesterday. Jeff, what is your first memory after you came to? Where were you? What were you thinking?
So I was conscious on the ground. It's in and out. I remember snow hitting my face. I remember somebody putting something over top me because embers were coming down from the window. I remember them carrying me out to the ambulance. We call them a bus. I remember being in the emergency room, and it was all hands going to work to save us. Um, I pretty much broke every bone in my body. I broke both my shoulders. I broke all my ribs. I I shattered my pelvis. That was probably well, I fractured my cranium in multiple places, but I shattered my pelvis in multiple places, and it was like broken glass going into my femoral arteries. And when they broke off, I bled out over and over again. I bled out 72 units of blood before they had all the bleeding stopped. So the normal human being, and this is all on a height weight, holds about 8 to 10 units of blood. I bled out 72 units of blood. So I bled out over and over again. I had internal compartment syndrome, or internal abdominal compartment syndrome. So basically, they had to cut my sternum to my belly button and remove my internal organs and rest them outside my body. I had a flail chest. My lung was collapsed on the one side. I mean, I was in a fight for life, and that was it. I mean, I was multiple surgeries. Um, and it was the grace of God that I lived. But I want to talk about somebody that was really important that day. So I have a beautiful wife that I've been married to for 26 years, and she is from an NYPD family. Her dad, both her brothers, and my sister-in-law, all NYPD. But anyway, she got smart and married a fireman, and she got to the hospital. They got her there to the hospital, and I was on my I was clinging to life, just barely clinging to life. And she talked to one of my doctors. I believe it was Dr. Michelle, and Dr. Michelle is telling Jill, this is what's going on, blah blah blah. And she said, put them back together any way you can, and I'll take them. And she she meant it, and she was there every day. Never cried in front of my boys. My boys were my Dylan just turned 5 right before the fire, and my Jeff was just 7 years old, just shy of his 8th birthday. And she never cried in front of them. She was a rock. My buddies described my wife Jill as a Marine. Just the way she was so stern. And I'm like, my Jill, the one that I could make jump out of her own skin, just go boo, and she would jump out of her own skin. But she was the rock that held everything together. And so I was blessed with that, blessed with my wife and my family and my friends in the fire department. I actually belonged to 3 different fire departments. I not only was a New York City firefighter, I was a member of the New York Air National Guard, and I was a firefighter in the 105th Air National Guard at Stewart International Airport in Newburgh. And also I was a volunteer firefighter with West Haverstraw Volunteer Hose Company #2. So I had 3 different sets of departments, all brothers there taking care of me and taking care of my family's needs. And just beyond blessed. I was in the hospital for 30 some odd days. I was a day shy of being trached. And from St. Barnabas Hospital, where they brought me back to life, and that's what they did. They breathed life back into me. I went to Helen Hayes Hospital in West Haverstraw, New York, which is basically my backyard. And I spent 3.5 months there, inpatient, learning to walk and function again, and over a year outpatient. Going back to my injuries, and I'm not downplaying, we lost brothers that day. We lost Kurt and John was a personal friend of mine. but I'm telling my story from my vantage that day. You know, I was put back together basically with crazy glue and duct tape. My left shoulder is still in five pieces. Um, my pelvis is it's deformed, to say the least. It is. I have a pelvic tilt now, so basically my pelvis is like this and like that. It's racked, and that's what they could do with me that day. The best they could do with me is let my shoulder heal the way it was. It was cleaned out and manipulated under anesthesia down the road. My pelvis, normally they would put screws and plates in and re-rack the pelvis, but they couldn't do that because of the compartment syndrome and the femoral bleed. So they put 5.5-inch titanium bolts into my pelvis, and they put an external fixator. So basically, we see the halos on football players. When we see that type of accident, you see the erector set. I had that in my pelvis, and I was probably about 205 at the time. I was in great shape. I was an avid hockey player. I was an avid runner. I was supposed to run the New York City Marathon in 2005. I was training for that. And that probably helped save my life. But when I first got on the scale down the road, I was probably about 140 pounds. Just dropped all the weight. Yeah, definitely put that weight back on, plus some now. My body slowed down. I can't run anymore. I don't play hockey anymore. I do what I can do, to get up and go, and I feel blessed, you know, to be here today because again, we lost guys that day, and before I lose my train of thought, that afternoon in Brooklyn, we lost another firefighter, and I want to say his name. I didn't know Richie Scalfani. Um, but I think back to him hearing that fire come in that morning, our fire in the Bronx, and it goes out over the radio. It was a multiple alarm. It's out over citywide radio, and they're hearing it, and word travels pretty quick. Guys died. It goes out over chatter, and then it goes officially it'll go out over the teleprinter, our computer system, and the voice alarm, and the media will pick up on it. But he knew pretty quick, and he was still doing his job that day. And unfortunately, that afternoon, he lost his life in Brooklyn, and he was a member of 103 truck. Story doesn't end there. Unfortunately, this story doesn't end. And 6 years later, November 22nd, 2011, we lost Joey DiBernardo.
Was that because of injuries suffered that day on Black Sunday that we lost Joey?
We all, yes, I'll just say yes first, and I'll explain why. The four survivors, Stolowski, Cawley, DiBernardo, and Cool, we all suffered similar but different injuries. We suffered psychological injuries, and Joey was on a couple different types of medicine. He was on some psychological medicine, and he was on pain medicine. Joey broke almost every bone in his foot, along with his pelvis and other injuries. So he always said to me, it was like walking on broken glass all the time. So Joey was on all these pain medicines and psychological medicines, and the combination of the two put him into respiratory distress, and it killed him. And I could tell you firsthand, I could talk about me. I was on morphine. I was on fentanyl. I was on fentanyl before we knew how crazy fentanyl was. I was on patches of fentanyl. I was on oxycodone. Um, and I hallucinated over this stuff. It never took the pain away from me. It helped manage the pain, but it never took the pain away. I was on sleeping meds, um, dealing with my psychological part and the pain. And this is not bragging. This is just telling facts. I hurt so bad and I wanted to sleep. I'll just say it was an Ambien at the time. And I'm taking prescription Ambien and I'm washing it down with a beer. And at the same time, I'm on fentanyl and oxycodone. And I'm not looking to die, but I want to help manage my pain. I just want to sleep. And hindsight's 2020. My brother he still works in pharmaceuticals. And he told me, in the hospital, Jeff, you want to get off these as soon as you can. Kind of like really just put the fear in me. And I probably started exploring holistic medicine while I was still in St. Barnabas Hospital. I know I did. I don't even know if I say it right. Reiki?
I'm
Reiki?
not sure myself. It might
Yeah,
be
it's
Reiki.
Reiki or right. Yeah. So anyway, it's kind of weird. It's like basically you take your hands. I mean, if you want to feel it, it's weird. I think you got to really believe in it. You got to be open minded. But you rub your hands together and you pull them apart, and there's like a magnetic force there. And anyway, a guy came in and see me. What did I have to lose? I was in a world of hurt. I'm laying in a bed and starts doing this stuff to me. So I'm starting to think about it. And my pastor came in and see me at the one time, and he said, "Hey, why don't you try acupuncture?" And talked to Dr. Kelly, the head of the FDNY, the chief medical officer at the time, and she said, "Sure." Well, they gave me a blessing, and I was probably one of the first guys in FDNY. I mean, we were using a little bit after 9/11, but I don't know how many guys believed in it. And I started seeing this old Chinese doctor, and he was an MD. His name was Dr. Anthony Lau. He was a godsend. So he was a trained MD. He was an anesthesiologist and pain management specialist, but he left all that and just started practicing acupuncture. And he used to stick needle after needle in me and put electric stem onto those needles. And I was walking with a cane for a long time. I was banged up. I don't walk with the cane anymore. There's some days that my back goes out. Probably could use a cane. I had a bout a couple months ago, and my back went out. But anyway, I credit Dr. Lau after months and months and months of treatments with him of laying that cane down. And I explored that holistic part of it, and I firmly believe in it. I've done the Reiki or Reiki, whatever you want to call it, the acupuncture, cranial sacral therapy. It's basically getting the fluid moving from your cranium down to your sacrum. And I believe in it. But getting back to Joe, we lost him that day, and he was an awesome firefighter, probably one of the best, if not the best firefighter that I work with, just an encyclopedia of knowledge. No doubt today, if he was here, he would be a captain, battalion chief, who knows, one day chief of department. The guy just loved FDNY. And unfortunately, because of greed on behalf of the landlord, um, putting that illegal subdivisions up in that apartment that they claim they knew nothing about, greed on behalf of the city of New York for taking the ropes away. And when I say they took the ropes away, Von Essen said he took them away because of weight and blah, blah, blah. They were at their shelf life, right? To replace them, they had like a 10-year shelf life. It was approximately $900,000 to replace every rope for the city, for every firefighter in the city of New York. They didn't do that. But after Black Sunday, and that's what the media dubbed our fire Black Sunday. The city of New York did the largest, most in-depth survey and study of bailout ropes to the cost of $16.5 million. So you look at that dollar and you go, wow. I look at that dollar and it makes me angry. You know why it makes me angry? Because 3 of my brothers are dead. And it didn't have to be that way. You know, the New York City Fire Department, why I miss it every day, is a reactive fire department, not a proactive fire department. They're at wait and see all the time. We could go case after case, you know, of fires. It's proven that it's there. And you know what? It is what it is. You know, everybody else, every other department in the world looks up to the New York City Fire Department. And we've had our more than share of tragedy prior to 9/11. We don't learn, you know. Now every firefighter has a rope because of our fire, you know. Does that make me feel good? Yes and no. You know, you know, I'm part of that, I guess, legacy, if you want to call it that. But I broaden it out more than that. You know, I'm an advocate across the country. You know, I speak on the needs for the ropes, that no firefighter should have to suffer what we suffered that day. What those families, what the Blue, the Myron, the Cawley, the Stolowski, and the Cool families suffered that day, and still suffers today, because it doesn't go away. Like, there's that, you know, the fire is over, but that every now and then that door opens, you know. I mean, the door's open right now. The anniversary's here and it's open. But then, you know, we do good stuff out of it, you know. You know, we lost Joey November 22nd, 2011. In 2013, a foundation was started. It's called the Joey D Foundation. And his dad, as a retired deputy chief, he actually was my division commander in the 6th Division. When I came on a job. Great man. You know, he was crushed. His mom and dad and his sister were crushed when they lost Joey. You know, he survived that fatal day, and then unfortunately he passed from his injuries. So they started this foundation, and they provide grants to fire departments across North America that can't afford these ropes, these bailout systems, not just the ropes, but the training that goes with them. And there's a lot of 501c3s out there, non-for-profits, but this is a true 501c3. There's nobody on payroll. Chief D, Joey's dad, Joe D, is the CEO, president of the foundation. Our accountant's not on payroll. Our attorneys are not on payroll. And we've given out $500,000 plus in grants since 2013 to firefighters across North America.
Jeff Cool, mention the name again so people can Google it and donate.
joeydfoundation.org.
Okay, and I just will add, because I know retired FDNY Jeff Cool will not say this, but he's also now a survivor of COVID, his entire family. But I'm going to have to cut this interview short. So I am telling my listeners now, if you missed any part of this interview, this chat with retired FDNY Jeff Cool, who survived 9/11, who survived Black Sunday, download the iHeart Radio app. It is free. And my podcast, which will have the full interview with Jeff Cool, is called Sunstein Sessions. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning on the Jim Kerr Rock and Roll Morning Show, Q104.3.
New York's classic rock, Q104.3.